What is the meaning of life? Well, if you've ever watched Monty Python's film, The Meaning of Life, well, you know the answer already. Well, it's nothing very special. Try to be nice to people, avoid eating fat, read a good book every now and then, get some walking in, and try to live together in peace and harmony with people of all creeds and nations. There you go. That's it. You already know what the rest of this podcast is about. I'm Larry Cornett, and this is Invincible Life. Well, if you stuck around, then be ready for a little bit of a deeper conversation about the meaning of life. This is issue 157. If you go to newsletter.invinciblelife.me, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So leave a comment on that article and share with all of us what you think the meaning of life is. This kind of came up and popped into my head the other day. It's interesting. I think when I was younger, certainly in my early teens, I should say, and you become self-aware, you start reading a lot more, you start reading philosophy, interacting with lots of people from all walks of life and different belief systems and cultures and religions, you name it. You start to ask this question, like, why are we here? What is the purpose of our existence? What are we meant to do while we are here? What is this meaning of life? And I think I thought about this a lot, definitely into my 20s. And I remember having some deep philosophical conversations with people in college. I think you tend to do that. I think that happens in college because we're all taking so many different courses in philosophy and psychology and biology, physics, and encountering people that think differently from us and people from all over the world and people from different religious backgrounds and belief systems. And so you do start to have these deep conversations. And I remember talking about it a lot of late night conversations, trying to figure out why were we here? What do we want to do with our lives? Here we are at the beginning of our lives. What are we going to do? What is the meaning? What is the purpose? How do we choose the right path? But then something funny happens. I think we get busy. We get busy living life. We continue with our education, very busy with school, especially if you go on to graduate school. You don't have time to even question or breathe or think. You're too busy working and researching and studying for exams and collecting data and trying to get your master's or PhD or whatever it is you're pursuing. And then you start this career that you've selected. And now that becomes your focus, and you're so busy with your work. Working long hours, working and trying to figure out how to get ahead and how to survive and thrive. And perhaps you find a life partner. Maybe you start a family. And I remember these years, I didn't have time to think about the meaning of life. I was too busy living life. I was trying to get ahead at work. I was trying to make more money to support my family. We were raising a family. The meaning of life for us was taking care of our children and raising these amazing little people to become healthy and successful and happy adults who would also do something to contribute to this purpose and meaning of life. So I think I went through decades of not really thinking about this. I would say that when the empty nest hit us, so our youngest went off to college, now has a job, and pursuing a master's, so still busy, but not living with us anymore. And our two older kids, my other son and my daughter, they're busy with their careers and living their lives and very independent and happy, busy. So they don't need us as much as they used to. Our purpose is no longer taking care of these young people and trying to guide them. We're here for them. They ask us questions. We do talk with them a lot. We visit them a lot, but it's different. So we have this empty nest, and coming to the end of traditional careers too, which I have done. I've talked about this before. I don't probably in this podcast. I know I've definitely talked about it for my career in Solopreneur podcast, that I left my corporate career in 2010 and started a business, and I've been independent since then. And so I'm not retired. I am working, but it feels different. And now that the kids are out of the house and my wife and I look at each other every day and like, okay, now what? We definitely went through a period of now what? We're busy, we're doing things, but you do start to have this thought about, well, what is the meaning of life, especially now? What is our purpose now? And I would encourage you to share your thoughts with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment. Go to newsletter.invinciblelife.me and do that. Because I think if you asked 100 people that question, what is the meaning of life? You will probably receive 100 unique answers. Variations, there'll be some themes, recurring themes, but you're going to hear so many different answers. And that's going to depend on the individual. I think some individuals have deeper thoughts about this and question it and have thought about it and maybe even stayed up late at night wondering, what is my purpose? Why am I here? I think some people don't think about it and they kind of think you're silly to say, what's the meaning of life? You're definitely going to find differences based on people's backgrounds and their belief systems. If someone is deeply religious, or if they come from this religion versus that religion, they have different ideas about the meaning of life and death and the afterlife. Different people of different educational backgrounds have different thoughts about this and what they've been exposed to and what they've been encouraged to question. There are definitely individual differences, and there are also cultural differences. I think we are raised in different cultures to think about our purpose and our contribution and what we're meant to do. And that varies wildly. I have friends from all over the world. I've been lucky enough to live in the Bay Area of California, which is a big melting pot. So I've worked with people from everywhere, all over Europe and Asia and Africa and Australia and South America and Central America and Canada. Lots of different belief systems, lots of different cultures. And occasionally we would have some of these conversations, not as much as I would say is happening now. I definitely have friends who are now in their 50s and beyond who are starting to ask about, what's my purpose now? What am I going to do? What is the meaning of my life now? And I think back on this. It's interesting. I grew up in the Midwest, and I had friends who were agnostic and atheist. I had friends that were Christians and Catholics and Protestants and Lutherans and all, the various flavors. And they often would talk about doing good deeds, following the word of the Bible, doing what you could to ensure that you made it into heaven. The funny thing is, and I'm surprised there wasn't more cognitive dissonance with this. I did have some friends that would say one thing and do another, right? So they were supposedly deeply religious and they knew what was right and wrong, and boy, oh boy, the Bible told them so. But then they did some of the most horrendous things. They had some of the worst behavior, constantly cheating on their boyfriend or girlfriend, having affairs with married people, stealing, committing crimes, committing acts of violence, lying, you name it. And they somehow reconciled this. I don't know how. In some cases, some people said, hey, I go to confessions, so I get the slate wiped clean. I can do all these crimes, I can commit these sins, and then I go to confession, and bingo, I start over again, which always made me uncomfortable. Because it's like you're doing a lot of bad things. You're putting a lot of bad into the world, and then you just get to confess it, and now you get a do-over. Is that really the way this works? That you can basically commit more harm than good. You can do more bad deeds than good deeds, but you just confess, and now you'll walk through the gates of heaven. Didn't sit well with me. I had a very different kind of belief system. But then I had some Christian friends that were wonderful people that actually, I talk about fake Christians versus real Christians. And I know some people that were doing amazing things, a lot of charitable work, walking the walk, really helping people, selflessly giving. My mother-in-law was one of these people, just an amazing woman who would give food to people off her table. She would help people, even though I knew they didn't want to help themselves, but she would help them. She was such a generous, kind person who really lived the values. Pretty amazing. So I had to live with this dichotomy of people who said they were Christian but behaved as anything but, and people that were and actually did. And then friends who were atheists and agnostic that were wonderful people. And I know I would often hear this, and to this day I still hear this. People were like, well, how do you know how to be a good person if you don't read the Bible? Because the Bible tells you how to be good. And my friends who were not believers of organized religion would say, wow, I'm really worried about you if you need someone else or you need a book to tell you how to be a good person, because I don't need that. And they didn't. They didn't. Their actions were good. They were kind. They were generous. They didn't lie and steal. They didn't cheat on their partners. They were good people to this day. And I can think of some of them right now. I can picture their faces. Really good people who put a lot of good into the world and still try to put a lot of good into the world and donate their time and give to charities and do as much as they can to put good into this world. So observing this as I was growing up, and you do start to wonder, it's like, well, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of our existence? And hearing different beliefs about this from professors at college. I had a biopsychology professor who was boiled it down to very kind of primitive terms, right? He said, at the end of the day, yes, are we have self-aware? Do we have big brains? Do we think about things? Can we imagine things and have philosophy and physics and calculus? We have all this stuff we can do with these big, beautiful brains. But at the end of the day, we are organic creatures. We need to survive. We're animals. And so he said, if you boil it all down, the whole purpose of your existence is to continue the species. He said, that is it. Why do you want to survive? You want to survive long enough to reproduce. And he said, a successful organism is one that continues its genetic code and continues the species. And that is deep within our DNA and our habits, and the way we're wired is that we want to survive. We need to eat. We need to have shelter and stay warm. We need to survive. We will fight if we have to. And we reproduce. We're driven to find a partner and to create offspring. So that's what he would say. So very raw and primitive, that's the meaning of life. You are an organism and that's all you do. So if you look at animals in the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom, you look at all these creatures that some, it's been argued, are just as capable of cognition as we are. Dolphins, octopus, you name it. Others are not. They're very primitive, very small brains. They just exist. They survive. Would you ask a grasshopper what the meaning of life is? What would a mouse tell you is the purpose of its existence? They just survive, right? They are driven by needs, physiological needs. They want food, they want comfort, and they reproduce, and that's it. That's it. We are not that simplistic. We are blessed or cursed, how you look at it, with bigger brains that give us all kinds of deeper thoughts and the ability to imagine and to have anxiety and worries and depression, fear, happiness, joy, love. We have all this stuff, right? And so you have to ask yourself, what is that purpose? Why are you here? And I have my own thoughts about it. Again, I said I'd love to hear what you have to think. I don't believe you can look outside of yourself. When we do, inevitably, we are disappointed, right? There isn't an answer locked away in a book somewhere. This isn't a puzzle that you're trying to solve and you're trying to wait till the very end. Like, I finally found my purpose and I know why I'm here. I know my meaning. That's going to be a long life of unhappiness if you always feel like you're purposeless. Don't look to other human beings. I mean, you can learn. I certainly have learned by observing and by having conversations. But there's been no one that I've looked at and said, wow, they got it figured out. They have it figured out. They know everything. I hope you are aware and questioning that when you look at our heroes, even if they are spiritual heroes, they quite often fail us. It comes to light that they are not good people. They've been using some of their influence and supposed spirituality to control others, persuade others, to buy themselves a mansion and a jet, to abuse people. Come on, we've seen this time and again. So don't look to a book. Don't look to other people. You got to build it on your own. You have to question. You have to look within. You have to be deeply introspective and to understand how you are feeling about the decisions you make and the things that you do and the actions you take, and really listen to that voice inside. Because I see way too many people following the supposed wisdom of someone else who's doing some pretty terrible things, and then they're doing terrible things. I'm like, is this really what you think the purpose of your existence is, the meaning of your life? To hurt these other people, to hate these other people? No, come on. And I think if you look deep inside yourself, you know that. You know that. So you have to question. You have to observe. You have to learn. Because that purpose, that meaning of your life, it isn't out there somewhere and you're going to discover it. That's a long, unhappy journey if you think you're going to climb to a mountaintop and find it. It's inside yourself. You are not going to find your purpose in some job title, pursuing some kind of success at work and wow, I'm a CEO now. Now I found my meaning in life. I have my purpose and wow, this is what it was. No, that's not it. You're not even going to find it in some kind of magical relationship. Like, well, if I find the right partner, that's going to help me understand my purpose and my meaning in life. You've got to really dig deep, look inside, be introspective. That's why I tell people to journal. It's hard. This is hard work. Journaling every morning when you have a fresh perspective before others are influencing you, before you've looked at the news and read the social media and all that kind of stuff. If you're just letting yourself be poured onto the page while you're still pretty raw, your truth will emerge. And just write down how you're feeling, thinking, what you're questioning, listening to that truth. And then noticing inside yourself, when do you feel lit up? When do you feel like, wow, I am just glowing. I feel wonderful. This is amazing. When do you feel not great, right? Your heart is hurting. You feel sick to your stomach. You have that little voice that's telling you this is wrong. This isn't good. When there are things pulling you in a direction that you're like, I rationally can't explain this, but I feel drawn to do this. I feel pulled to do this. It's the sense of purpose, the sense of meaning, the sense of what you can do, which only you can do. And that is the thing, I think, and I'm going to come around to this at the end as well, is that I think everyone's meaning is unique. I think everyone's purpose is unique because we are such a random combination of variables. There are genetic variables, cultural variables, experience variables. You could have two identical people, genetically twins, that have been raised by different families in different parts of the world. There's going to be some things that come through. That's the genetic thing. But there's going to be very different things because of how they experience life in the world. So only you can really uncover what that meaning is for you and what will be your purpose and what will drive you. And I think that meaning, that feeling of this is right, comes from this sense of alignment. Because when you are doing things every day, when you are acting and behaving in ways that match who you really are, things start to feel smooth and your life begins to feel more meaningful. When you are reflecting your deep values in your daily actions and behaviors and the way you communicate with other people, you start living in alignment with that purpose and meaning. And I know that's happened for me. I spent decades out of alignment, decades, doing work that didn't feel right for me, being asked to do things that felt wrong, that made me feel sick to my stomach, things that I knew that were hurting people, right? Or taking advantage of people. And I can tell you, so many people who work for corporations know that feeling. You know when you're taking advantage of a customer, when you're not providing enough value for the money that you're asking. We experience this every day in our lives. We're like, what is going on? And we feel we're on the receiving end of it, and it feels pretty terrible. There are people on the giving side that if they're being introspective, it doesn't feel good either. They know they're doing something wrong. You know, for me, I had to have freedom, which is so important to me. And I did not have that before. Now I do. And now I have this sense of calm that never existed before. I wanted personal growth. I wanted to continue to learn, to grow. And I was put into a little box before, and I was not learning and growing all the ways I wanted to because it was out of my job description, right? Love is important to me. Relationships are important to me. And the people I loved the most, I was seeing the least. I wasn't spending as much time with my wife and children as I wanted to. I was spending way more time with coworkers. And so I was not feeling that alignment and being authentic, being myself. And I can tell you as a corporate employee, and especially as a corporate leader, I was an executive. We are told we cannot be 100% authentically ourselves. We have to have a persona. You can't. I remember another friend who was an executive that was told, you need to stop laughing in meetings. You need to stop joking around. You're a leader. Stop being the fun person that you really are and be serious, deathly serious. And by golly, you better not tell them the truth. You better not be honest. You better not tell everybody that a layoff is coming. That's a top secret. So, ugh, I can tell you that lack of alignment certainly made me feel pretty terrible. So living life in alignment is important. It's really important. I think that growing is kind of the point, one of the key points of purpose and meaning in life. We are not meant to be stagnant creatures. We don't come fully formed from the womb and as a perfect person, a perfect human being. We experience life, we change, and we grow. And that's why I think there's a hedonistic side where people are like, well, the point of life is just to be completely chasing pleasure. It's all joy. Pursue joy, pursue happiness. It's bliss. It's like being in heaven, right? Well, that's not true. Growth doesn't come from that. Growth does come from trying and failing. Growth comes from friction and some pain, from heartbreak, things going wrong. Growth comes from stretching yourself, and that's never super comfortable. It's just not. And so it isn't about pursuing comfort and hedonistic pleasure. It's about becoming a better you. And we all have ways that we can be better people. I'm still working on it. I still have so much work to do to be better with my compassion and empathy and communication and you name it. Every day I'm journal about this stuff like, oh, I'm disappointed that I did this yesterday. I want to be better about this. And that does require you to be introspective. It does require you to be courageous and to have the confidence to pursue a better you and to do more with your life, to live to your potential. And it's not completely selfish. It's also about the connection with other people. And we are tribal creatures. We need relationships. We don't live as solo creatures like a tree standing alone in the forest. I mean, that's not who we are. We are community people. We have families, we have friends, we have loved ones, we have communities and neighborhoods. And it is those connections where we have a chance to give the best of ourselves and to now help others. How can you help other people? How can you contribute to other people's lives in ways that help improve them? How can you be more of who you're meant to be and to tap into those gifts that you have that can be natural talents that you have? It can be skills you've developed, knowledge you've acquired, the experience you've acquired in life and work and everything you've done, to not just keep it bottled up inside, but to give it back. And I've started to feel this. Obviously, I do coaching now, and I've been doing it for about 10 years. But definitely when I left the corporate world and I kind of felt like I'd learned everything I could learn in that small environment that wouldn't let me grow and change and do things differently, I felt the desire to give back. I felt a need to help other people avoid some of the pain that I had encountered. I felt this drive, and I talk about this. I want to help good people succeed. I see some unfortunate things in this world, and I think you probably do too, where people who are selfish, a little heartless, a little Machiavellian, aren't afraid to use people. They're the ones who get ahead. I talk about this all the time, that there is no honest and super kind billionaire. People don't become billionaires through their own solo hard work. If someone has accumulated that much wealth for one person, that is wealth and success that has not been shared with their employees who have made it possible. And that's how they become that wealthy, is through using other people's labor and minds and creativity. It also comes from manipulating their customers, because why would one person have multi-billion dollars and there are customers who can barely get by that are being charged outrageous prices for things? I mean, come on. I can go on and on about that, but I think we've all seen it. We've all seen it. And so I want to help the good people, the people who are compassionate, who have deep empathy, that want to do the right thing, that tend to not get ahead at work because they're, quote, too nice. I'm sick of that. I'm so sick of that. So I try to help the good people, and I've met many good people in my career, and I'm actually working with some of those folks. You know, we've known each other for decades, and it hurts to see them not succeed when I know how good they are. They're good at what they do, and they're just not the kind of people who like to manipulate others and brag about what they do and all this stuff. So I'm trying to help those people get ahead and help the good people. And it is this giving back, this connection with others that really helps. And at the end of the day, I mean, the way I think about it, it's this balance. So if you could kind of picture this balance in the universe of good and bad, and there's neutrality, of course. And some people do just simply exist. I know some people that they don't question it. They're not bad. They're not good. They just exist and kind of going through life. And then there are many who pursue selfish needs just for themselves, right? They want wealth. They want nice things. They want the success just for themselves. There are some that seem, I don't know why, but hell-bent on destruction. I think it's related to the selfish stuff, but they just seem to really want to hurt people and hurt this planet. And then there's a few that really do want to leave the world better than they found it, right? And that's kind of where I've landed. There have been moments in my life I know I was just existing. I was just trying to survive. I was living, I was surviving, I was just existing. There have also been moments when I was the selfish one. I was pursuing things like power. I wanted to have impact, fame and fortune, right? I'm not proud of that, and I had to step away from that. It felt bad. It was out of alignment. And now I feel like the meaning of my life is to tip this balance of the universe with as much good as I can contribute. I mean, we all can't be Mother Teresa. And selfless and not have anything, not need anything. But we can choose to do good deeds. We can choose to help other people. We can choose to help protect this world and this environment for our children, for our grandchildren, for anyone. You know, why would we not want to protect this planet that takes care of us? And we can choose to generally just try to leave the world in a better place than we found it, to put more good into the world than the bad. So you can't expect, as I said earlier, that someone else or something else is going to tell you exactly how to do that. You are unique. Your life is unique. The way you can contribute is unique. And as I said, there are so many people that have thumped their chests and claimed to be good people and claim that they are acting righteously when really they just end up being pretty damn evil people. What a shame to give your life following somebody who ends up being a pretty bad person. That's just sad. You can avoid that by listening to what's inside you, not what's outside of you. You know, in your heart of hearts, unless you're a sociopath or a psychopath and you really don't understand, you know what is right and wrong. You don't need someone to tell you that. You don't need a book to tell you that. You feel it. I know you do. You can tell when you're being selfish. You can tell when something you've done or said is hurting someone else. You know when you are sacrificing the greater good of humanity or the world for your own short-term desires. You know, right? You know. So just be aware, be introspective. Question everything, including yourself. Question your own motives, question your actions, and say, why am I doing this? Am I contributing good to the world, or is this a selfish thing I'm doing? Is this a bad thing I'm doing? And just try as often as possible to do what adds more good to the world. Remove some of the pain, removes misery, eliminates hate, or doesn't contribute to it, fixes the damage in the world. We are not perfect. We are human. We are full of flaws, myself included, deeply aware of my flaws. And I will not always do the perfect thing, but I try to do more good than bad. And I try to be aware, and I try to catch my hypocrisy and say, what am I thinking? What am I doing? And that's all you can do, is try to do more of what you think is good. And that ends up being your legacy. That ends up being how you will be remembered. That you lived your life in alignment with your beliefs and values, that you continued growing and evolving and improving, that you connected deeply with other human beings and the creatures of this world and nature, that you connected more deeply and realized you were part of it, not separate from it. And that by living your life well and living your life as a good person and helping other people, that became your very message to the world, the way that you communicated your purpose and your meaning by how you lived. By how you lived. So, yeah, I know this was a weird one, huh? I got a little philosophical and got up on a soapbox, but I really wish all of us would think about our purpose and think about our meaning and try to put more good into the world than bad. If we all did that, the world would be a better place. It really would. So anyway, if you want to leave a message about what you think is the meaning of life, I'd be happy to hear it. And you can leave a comment. You can send me a message. You can send me an email. I always love these conversations. I kind of miss them. I used to have a lot more of them. Until next time, I wish you the best of luck with pursuing the life of your dreams so you can be happier, healthier, and more fulfilled.